right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back to back on ClipperBlog Live. This is probably the first time all season that we can say we've gone back to back. We've got Brandon Tomyoy coming out of LA, and I'm Law Murray coming out of LA, but in New Orleans. Oh man, Clippers lose to the Pelicans 109-105. They lost to a team that actually had a playoff rotation on the bench, dude. Brandon, what the heck is going on with this squad?
Look, the first, I don't want to make excuses, but the first thing that looks, first thing when I look at the schedule and everything that I see is this is the first game they've played since yesterday, but it's only been a stretch of 22 hours between games. Now, I've spoken a bit on the website on ClipperBlog about this game, 6 straight back-to-backs to finish out the month, and which I think is absolutely ridiculous. And I have to go check this out on Basketball Reference or wherever, but I can't remember a time ever in any NBA season in history where any team played 6 straight back-to-backs. This is the early stretch of it, so they've got the 2 games, then they had the 2 days break, then they played these 2 games, and now they've got 2 days break again. So it shouldn't be as bad, meaning that I think that it can definitely get worse. But at the same time, given the roster personnel, I don't know. Like, some people are going to look at it and say they're playing down. They're playing down to their competition, playing down to their opponent. I really think that the Clippers look tired. They look absolutely gassed, and at this point, they're so locked into the fourth seed. I don't even know what's worth playing for at this point the rest of the season.
Well, I think I disagree with you, man. I mean, I think what you want to do is you look at how well you played when Blake first went down, and then you kind of limped to the All-Star break, but you came out of the All-Star break with a win against the San Antonio Spurs. I mean, those are valuable performances that you can take and you look at and say, when we are playing and executing at our best, this is what we look like. You're not getting that at all this month. Drew Holiday, who is a former All-Star, is a talented player, he drove a very solid performance by a Pelicans team that hasn't had many of them. I mean, 22 points, 8 assists, 3 threes for Drew in just under 40 minutes. I mean, he was the best of the Pelicans. What, they got 9 guys who played? One of those guys played with a broken chest. Alexis Zinchenko came in just to commit fouls, man. When you look at 4 losses in 5 games, you can't say, oh, we got a playoff spot locked up. Because you lose 4 times in 5 games and you eliminate from the playoffs. So that is a stretch where the Clippers play in the next month like they played this past week. They're not going to make it to San Antonio or Golden State in round 2. You can't assume with Blake's timetable getting pushed back further and further that the Clippers are going to, they're going to get a Blake Griffin that we saw in the postseason last year. So you got to look at this team and think that there's a percentage, probably over 25-30% chance that this is the team that we're going to see in the playoffs. And if that's the case, losing to this Pelicans team tonight and the Grizzlies team last night, it's a cause for concern. And we'll get into that a little bit more. Who else besides Drew caught your eye tonight, Brandon?
Yeah, Tim Frazier really caught my eye. He was hitting so many important shots down the stretch, especially every time it looked like the Clippers, either the second unit or whoever it was about to make a slight run into the second half lead that the Pelicans built. He was there to just stretch that lead out a little further, keep the distance, and I thought he played incredible. I didn't even know, I haven't seen a lot of Tim Frazier, and I just watching him tonight, I was really, really impressed with what he did. I mean, 17 points on 8 shots. He, 7 rebounds, and he's a point guard, 20 minutes. All of that, I mean, it just looks so impressive to me. And hey, I mean, you could say that they slept on him, or you just give him credit both ways. I mean, he played a heck of a game.
Well, you know who else hasn't seen him, Tim Frazier, play a lot is the New Orleans Pelicans. This is his
Yeah,
third game.
third game.
Since signing a contract, and you look at the career high that he had tonight. The night before was Ray McCallum starting at point guard. He didn't even have a great first half, but Ray McCallum was the closer. Tim Frazier tonight, he was a big key in the 9-1 run that the Pelicans had in the third quarter. And again, like Drew Holiday was a big part of the 12-2 run that pretty much effectively closed us out. It was nice that the Clippers scored 12 of the last 16 points of this game, but you knew it was going to be a miracle for them to overcome that. I mean, 39 points from those 2 point guards is, again, like Chris looks like he's tired. We can all assume, once again, I'm going back to the postseason thing. We can assume that Blake is maybe he might come back. He might ball out. But you know who's going to be tired? You know who might pop a hamstring or strain a calf? Is Chris. He's being worked on both ends of the floor. He's being worked as a playmaker, as an interior scorer, as a shooter. And heck, he's even grabbing the rebounds that the forwards can't grab. Can we talk about the rebounds, Brandon? How are you going to shoot close to 40% from the field and still get trashed on the boards? Can you explain that to me?
Yeah, I mean, the way they've been playing lately, especially with how small they go, and they get only smaller as they get to the second unit, there's nobody there. And already you're talking about having a guy in DeAndre Jordan who, hey, all credit to him being a great rebounder, but he's not a traditional box out type of rebounder. And nobody else on that team really looks like they're boxing out to get rebounds. That all plays into how great every single opponent that the Clippers come up against seem to rebound against them. I mean, yesterday was 18 offensive rebounds. Today they got out rebounded by 19 as a whole. You get 14 rebounds by Ashik. Now, yeah, I mean, they want to make the shots. They want to run fast. They want to play fast. But if you don't have the ball, then what's the point?
Well, check this out. DJ had a season low 7 rebounds last night. He only had 9 tonight. It's the first time all year that he's going back-to-back games without getting at least 10 rebounds in either. And you look at that, and it's like, man, if DJ isn't rebounding, and like you said, you got a bunch of guards who – it's not just that you're playing small. It's not just that you're playing with 4 guards – in your lineup supporting DJ or not supporting DJ in this case. You got guys who they don't rebound at all. The help rebounding from, especially outside of Chris, is terrible. Chris had 6 boards tonight. He was the second leading rebounder. No one else had more than 4. Jamal, 4 rebounds is a good night for him. Cole Aldridge doesn't play enough minutes to grab more than the 4 that he got. And that's it. Luke has not been good lately. I mean, I know that we've given a lot of credit to Luke's assignment sound play. Since he's come back from the eye injury, Luke's defense hasn't really been the same. He's even more unsure of himself offensively. Like, you see the passes. This dude, Luke, will go to the basket and throw the ball to the sideline. And a lot of times there's no one there. So Luke can't play more than 15 minutes now. It's been really bad considering that the offense is out of flow. Jamal, ever since Austin Rivers has come back, Jamal has not gotten to the basket with the same efficiency. He's not gotten to the free throw line with the same efficiency. He's not shooting. Really, he didn't shoot the ball in February either. He shot about 30% from 3. But that's going way down. So that leads me to the next thing, Brandon. As a team, the Clippers missed 29 threes tonight. The last one might have pretty much put a bow on the whole story of this game. Austin Rivers missed a 3 with JJ on the floor, Chris Paul on the floor, Jamal on the floor, and Pablo not on the floor. Pablo actually was shooting the ball well. He made 2 threes after not being in the rotation. He only played because Jeff Green didn't play. I mean, this reminded me of the Denver Nuggets game last month where the Clippers missed well over 33s. So to your point, what's going on with all the missed threes? Should we chalk this up to make or miss league, or I mean, do they need to just get something going to the basket, or both?
It I would go with both. It's definitely a little bit of column A, a little bit of column B. Now, 29 missed threes, and I was gonna bring up the Denver game. Thank you for bringing that up because that I definitely feel you on that and got the vibe watching them shoot and miss so many threes, especially if you look at the people and the personnel that are missing threes. Now, I mentioned earlier that they had, only 22 hours between games. They're on tired legs. That means that they're shooting on tired legs. We're getting a lot of short shots. But if they're shooting from three, that means a lot of long rebounds too. So if you want to go back to the rebound point as well, there's probably some that plays into that where the ball's just carrying off the rim. It's getting into where those guards on the Pelicans team are able to grab the rebounds just a lot easier. But in general, you look at the personnel and you look at the percentages all the way down the line. I mean, Pierce historically, but not this season. It was a good 3-point shooter. Wesley Johnson's not really a great 3-point shooter, and he had coming up to the last before this week, he had the stretch where it looked like he looked like he was just having the worst stretch of his season in terms of missing shots and just not being able to make anything. You just keep going down the line. Jamal's having a down year on threes, and he's getting older. You look at Austin; he's not a 3-point shooter. And again, just down the list, anyone you go to past JJ and Chris Paul, you're talking about not only sub 40% 3-point shooters, but you're talking most times closer on the side of 30 than you are to 40. And you're having these guys shoot the majority of the 3-pointers, it seems. I don't see what the point is. It gets really frustrating, especially going back to the tired legs thing again, when you just see them shoot and shoot and shoot. Like, sometimes I was just looking, I was like staring right into the TV, just wondering, is this the play where they're actually going to, bring the ball into the interior? And I know it's not going to leave their style of play to, get some points in the paint outside of DeAndre. And you can just go through a list of box scores and you can see there's just game after game after game after game where the opponent scores more in the paint than the Clippers did. But basketball is also about adjustment, and it's not like they can't play inside. They certainly can, and yet they still continue to chuck and chuck and chuck. And it becomes really frustrating, regardless of just any allegiance to any team, just watching a team just play that way when you know that they're tired and they can play better than them.
Yeah, I think the other side to this is obviously the team is stressed, is getting stressed without Blake. There's more tape on them now, so the element of surprise is gone. Like, and you're right, the adjustments need to start coming. I think some of the adjustments you saw late inside of 2 minutes after the hack of DJ went away. They started involving DJ in a couple more vacuum-inducing rolls to the basket, and I mean, DJ is a better player than what he's been allowed to be. I mean, I know that he's not the type of player that Doc wants to feature, but for as long as Blake is out, I don't really agree with only 5 field goal attempts for DeAndre Jordan. They gotta find a way to get him some more touches. They gotta find a way for him to just be more aggressive. Especially his free throw shooting has been a little bit better. So we're talking 9 straight games now where DJ hasn't had more than 10 field goal attempts. And so maybe that's an adjustment that needs to happen. But it's clear something's got to happen because you can't keep relying on JJ having to knock all these threes in. You can't keep relying on Chris Paul having to basically do everything. They haven't had a third scorer, a consistently good third scorer. And that guy probably could be DJ, but they're not using DJ quite the way they were when Blake was down last year. It's been a lot more perimeter-oriented basketball, and I think there's a level of frustration for DJ that's you're going to see it in Oakland Wednesday. If the threes don't go down early, it's going to look pretty rough.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, it is like just to piggyback on what you're saying. I look at it and I wonder, if they're not going to use DJ the way they used him last season, and they're not going to go play more aggressively in the paint using DJ, who that third scorer is going to be. Jamal, he's seen his percentages drop consistently since that nice stretch of games that he had in January. Like you said, he was down from February. He's even worse this month, percentages-wise, than last month. And that continues to drop. I think he's going through some stretch where he scored less than 10, including something like 9 of the last 10 games. And so who does that leave? And you keep going down the list, and there just isn't anybody. And you wonder when something's going to happen with the team, if they actually have any urgency to build towards that, or if they're just trying to search for something to make it work. I know they, I thought it was interesting that they kept Jeff Green in the starting lineup after Pierce came back. So, that Jeff was able to start the last 2 games, when usually you look at Doc, and the knock on Doc is that, Doc always rides his guys, Doc's guys. And, for him to choose Green over Pierce, that's a bit of a surprise. But Green just has been so inconsistent, and now he's got concussion symptoms. I just don't know who they have on their roster that they can really turn to at this point.
Yeah, I mean, well, the biggest difference is they've replaced consistent scoring with consistent, or at least voluminous, shooting, and it hurts when guys outside of Chris Paul, JJ Redick, and Pablo Prigioni, and again, Pablo not in the rotation normally anymore. It hurts when the other guys on the team shooting threes miss 21 of 22 three-pointers. That is incredible. I mean, those are numbers where it's like, man, get to the basket, but for whatever reason, things are broken up. We're talking way too much about the offense here, Brandon. We need to talk about, again, can we just go down the list of Pelicans that did not play in this game? Anthony Davis, Ryan Anderson, Quincy Pondexter hasn't played all year. Norris Cole, Bryce Dejon-Jones, Tyreek Evans, Eric Gordon. Like, that's 7 guys, and you should throw in Ajinka. Okay, that's a full rotation. Okay, you can probably get to the playoffs with just those 8 guys. And dude, they gave up 109 points to the team on the floor tonight. That's after giving up 113 the night before. So 4 losses in 5 games. Again, you lose to Cleveland, San Antonio, that's one thing. You lose to that New Orleans team and that Memphis team. Oh, man. The Clippers haven't lost 4 or 5 games since mid-November, when they were into the stretch being 6-7. Guess what? They had to face Golden State on that trip. They had to face Portland. That was a back-to-back. That's the back-to-back that's coming up. Do the defensive issues get cleared up? Because we have one fan question already saying there's a lack of communication defensively. So what are you observing over this past week defensively, Brandon?
Well, first off, we just want to talk about opponent points per game. I mean, there was a point 2 weeks ago, I think, right at that point where they beat OKC and they had that huge comeback win, where they were sitting around 7th, and now they're 9th, and they continue to drop. Now, this would be the first time they're out of the top 10 in, I feel like,
probably since Blake went down, right?
Yeah, probably since Blake went down, like late December, early January, sometime around there. And part of it is, yeah, like you mentioned Luke earlier, that he hasn't looked the same. But also, since Jeff Green has come in, he constantly looks lost. In terms of the team defensive schemes, in terms of who he's supposed to switch on, where he's supposed to be when he doubles. Just all of that. I mean, there was maybe that first couple games when he was here where he provided a spark, mainly in terms of block shots, and he seemed like he was just kind of energy, added some energy off the bench. Now that we've kind of seen a larger role for him, he doesn't look like he's getting the defense as well, and that's definitely played into it. And if you don't have guys that you can rely on, or if you don't have guys that know where the other players are going to be on the floor, that they're playing alongside, then that is certainly going to provide defensive issues. And you look back, I mean, you say this is the first time they've lost 4 and 5 since November. The defense now looks like the way it was in November, when the team was still learning how to play the scheme that they brought into the season. So, looking at the stretch ahead, hopefully they can address some of the issues. I know they have a couple days, and in these couple days, I'm sure Doc is going to mention if I were a betting man, I would say that Doc is going to mention the defense during the next 2 days in terms of needing to tighten it up before the Warriors game and work on that prior. But I mean, if you're talking about not having guys that you can rely on to play this game, I mean, that's going to be an issue whoever they're playing the next 2 games.
Hey, so check this out. 4 losses in 5 games in a week, basically. So since March 13th, there's only one team playing worse defensively as far as efficiency than the Clippers, and that is the Portland Trailblazers. The Trailblazers have lost three of 4 games in the last week. And I believe they gave up 40 points to Dirk in an overtime. Dirk hasn't had a game like that. Nobody his age has had a game like that in 13 years. So, I mean, Portland gets a lot of credit for, being average, basically. You look at their record this season, that's what it is. But you don't want to be compared to the Portland Trailblazers defense. And so
No.
I'm trying to dig a little bit into what the Clippers are struggling with. I mean, teams are absolutely shooting really well against them. The Clippers are allowing teams to get to the free throw line really well. I mean, we've seen, especially when the bench comes in, we've seen teams get to the free throw line and get into the bonus very early in the second and fourth quarters. But I mean, those are the main concerns. Like, when you look, teams are just doing a great job of getting good shots, getting to the line, but the biggest concern is they can't rebound. And you got to find a way to shoot better. If you're going to shoot poorly, you got to at least rebound. The Clippers really just they got to find somebody to rebound. I mean, that's the biggest thing. You're giving extra possessions to teams that are shooting well. They're being outworked. You look at the Memphis game last night. They got outworked against a team that happened to shoot relatively well. You look at tonight's game against the Pelicans. Dude, the Pelicans shot 49% from the field. And you know what? They didn't shoot a lot of threes. They shot 21 threes. They made only 7 of them. That's not anything to write home about. Again, Drew made 3 of those 7 threes. But outside of that, it's like, man, you're giving up multiple possessions. You're giving up good looks. Dante Cunningham had 19 points tonight, bro. Dante Cunningham. I mean, Dante Cunningham doesn't even shoot. I remember there was a stretch. Dante Cunningham was like the last player getting 20 minutes a game to shoot like a free throw at all. Okay? I mean, Dante Cunningham had 19 points. 6 of those came from the line. Luke Babbitt, who's not really that good. Luke Babbitt messed around and had 14 points, 8 rebounds. So when you look at guys not playing and you think, oh, yeah, we should blow them out. But what's happening is professional basketball players are playing like professionals with added opportunities. And the Clippers defense, when you say you're not playing up to competition, what that usually means is you're being lax on defense. You're letting guys who used to be good in a past basketball life that haven't really had the same success, they're getting success because they're looking at that defense and they're saying, oh, shoot, let's go. Guys are just shooting open shots, making plays off the dribble, getting some extra offensive rebounds, some extra opportunity. All this, and it's no surprise that it's the Clippers giving up points that's a bigger problem, not the Clippers not scoring enough. 105 points, the Clippers scored that tonight. I mean, let's just be real. You're supposed to win games when you score that many points, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, definitely. And now, maybe this is just my eye test from watching the game. You're definitely you're looking at the stats right now, so maybe you could help me on this. But it definitely seemed like maybe it is because of the rebounding as well as the long the long rebounds from all the 3-point shots that they missed. But it seemed like the Pelicans, they were just moving well in transition, and that they were doing an incredibly good job just kind of getting the ball and just running with it. And that definitely helped in terms of how the Clippers defense was breaking down. The stretches that where the Clippers seemed the strongest, they did seem like when the ball was dead. And it was, I mean, that the late game stretch when they made that furious run, even the point when Alvin Gentry went to hack a DJ early in the fourth quarter when they and DJ was making his free throws and they had to take the ball out. It seemed that stretch led to a period where the Pelicans had 5 straight turnovers on 5 straight possessions. And again, I mean, defense leads to offense, but sometimes, bad offense can lead to the opponent's opponent's good offense as well. And so again, it seems like they're not doing themselves any favors in terms of getting themselves in the best position to defend either.
Yeah, and you know what? That goes back. You talk about defensive positioning. You talk about again, Jeff missed this game tonight, but you've seen Jeff struggle defensively. That goes back to our guy Slim Taylor's query. Guys are not in good position to not just defend, not just get stops, but to rebound when shots are missed. And I'll tell you what, you bring up a good point about the turnovers. You want to know why the Clippers had a prayer at the end of this game? Because the Pelicans had 23 turnovers tonight. Okay, they won a game where they gave the ball up 23 times. That's the only reason the Clippers had more field goal and free throw attempts than New Orleans tonight. I mean, New Orleans, obviously, this game was close to the 14-point lead that they had than it was to the 4-point end of game deficit than it turned out to be. I mean, all those rebounds the Pelicans got were canceled out by all the turnovers that they had. That's a bigger concern. There's a facet of the game where the Clippers succeeded tonight.
Yes.
And they still were on the short end of it. They still gave up a lot of points. So we know that the Clippers can force some turnovers, especially if Pablo plays. When Jeff gets on the floor, whether it's this week or next week or when Blake gets back, whenever, Jeff's got to rebound better. Wesley, Paul, Luke, those forwards, those are nominal forwards. They have to rebound or they're just making the team a lot worse. It is 6:30 on the West Coast, so we're going to wrap this up. The Clippers, they have 2 days off. They come back to California, but they go to Oakland to face a Warriors team that, look, man, can we not talk about teams being angry or being mad because they lost the game? You saw this weekend, that don't mean a whole lot. The Warriors are probably a good bet to sweep the Clippers. They haven't lost at home all season. Just taking a quick look at what Golden State has in between today, where I would imagine they're off. I mean, yesterday's game in San Antonio happened to be the 3rd game in 4 days for them. So, I mean, that's a team that's also slipping a little bit defensively. They're not playing the kind of defense that they were earlier this season under Luke Walton, and they're not playing the kind of defense that they were under Steve Kerr last year. I mean, let's just be real. Can we agree that your defense is more of a factor in winning games than what you're doing offensively? How do you feel about that?
Yes. No, I absolutely agree that defense comes first, and that's why the Spurs are the Spurs, because I feel like they consistently play defense so well. I mean, and especially if you look at yesterday's game against the Warriors, I mean, yeah, they held the Warriors to a season low. That's what they do.
Word. So, hey, check it out. The Warriors will play at Minnesota tomorrow. Both teams will be off Tuesday, and then Wednesday it's going to be on ESPN, the nightcap. There won't be any distractions. So we're going to be here, ClipperBlog Live. I'm going to find somebody. We're going to find somebody up in Oakland who's going to do CBL. Brandon going to hold down last call. And for CBL today, we're going to call this a show. Clippers, 4 losses in 5 games. I don't know if they're going to avoid 5 out of 6, but that's why they play the games. 109-105, Pelicans win. For Brandon, Tomyoy, I'm Law Murray. Brandon, take us out of here real quick.
Yeah, I'll just finish on a thing. I think right now, if you look at it, there's one more game against Memphis. That's probably a game that they want to get ready for, because this is looking like they've locked down the 4th seed. There's no way around it. Maybe it is time to start considering players for rest. But again, they have to they have to consider momentum as well. So I don't know how they're going to finish out this ridiculous stretch of March, but hopes if you're rooting for the Clippers, you just gotta hope for the best.
All right. Well, Tom Habenstraw, I'm still waiting on you to holler at me, man. It's a lot of back-to-backs, but we ain't getting no sympathy tweets for the Clippers, huh? Nah, you know how we do, Brand. We keep it 100%, man.
Yeah.
Back-to-backs are not a reason for losing, and neither is the NBA schedule. They got to find a way to pull it together. Hopefully it comes this week, because like you said, it gets tougher. We out.